Hello and welcome to another episode of Top Deck, the series where we take a look at some of the leading TCG deck lists. On today we have Nick, who bubbled the recent EU YCS. How are you doing, Nick?
Yeah, I'm good, thanks.
And you're going to take us through your Drytron list.
Yeah, so I decided to play the remote duel EU YCS. It was kind of a last minute decision, really. But yeah, as Joe already said, I bubbled, so I ended 8-3. I ended day one 7-1, and then wasn't able to make it into top cut, unfortunately. But I thought I'd share my list anyway, just because there's not that many lists out there at the moment, because the top 16 games aren't happening yet, so people are hiding their lists.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I played Drytron. It's mostly standard, but there's a few things I thought I'd share. So I'm just gonna lay things out. So I played 3 alpha. This is standard, completely standard, and 3 zeta. So 3 of each of these names are the standard ratio. But I then also played 3 gamma, and even on top of that, 3 delta. So I decided to max out on names because I just wanted to play an all gas version of the deck with no hand traps, just to give me the best possibility to push through hand traps and push through my opponent's boards. 3 gamma is becoming a lot more common because people realize that gamma plus any other name is full combo, and gamma is the best one to have when pushing through hand traps on the Mu Beta. But 3 delta, so most builds, and including myself, the week leading up, I was just playing 2 delta, or some people even only play 1. I decided to just max out. The draw off of it is just, super clutch. Like when your deck is built in a way where every card is gas, the draw off it is insane. And I just wanted as many names because it helps you play into hand traps and specifically into draw when you draw actual machines rather than cards that can search them.
Yeah.
Then I played 3 Cyber Emergency. This is standard. 3 Drytron Nova. This is also standard. 1 Fafnir to pair with this, and 1 Foolish Burial. So this I put together so that it's 20 cards that say get to a Drytron. So it gives me, I think it's 97.6% chance to draw 1 Drytron, and then over 83% chance to draw 2, something like that. So you shouldn't brick, basically, is the idea. I just wanted just to increase my consistency as much as possible. So half my deck is Drytrons. And when I side, I usually only side out a maximum of 2, so I still have at least 18. And then on to sort of the ritual cards of the deck. So you got the 1 Medionis. You have to play this card. I see this playing 2, so obviously you have to play it because it's just, it's part of the deck. I see this playing 2, and there's 1 specific combo where you need 2, and there is in a grind game you might want to search a second because it gives your Zeta more value. But personally, I just would rather just not draw the card. It's fine to draw in hands where all of your Drytron names in your hand just happen to not be Zeta, but drawing this in a hand where Zeta is your only Drytron just feels awful. So yeah, I'd rather just not draw it. Draconids. This guy is also another card you don't want to draw, but he is necessary because a lot of the times if your opponent hand traps you and stops you getting to Ben 10, so they hand trap your alpha and you don't have a way into Ben 10, the best thing you can do, and also the best thing you can do under draw, usually, is to make him with the Mu Beta Fafnir, and that's still 2 interrupts. And he also just comes up to clear a board some of the time as well. So he's kind of like an engine requirement because of the hand traps that people are playing.
Okay.
The rest of the rituals, the 1 Ben 10, this card is obviously ridiculous. 1 Idaton, and then the last one is Ultimateness. So this is standard, this is the standard end board. But I want to talk about Idaton a little bit because this card is actually just bonkers when you really think about it. It's not once per turn to add back the ritual spell. So there are times once I know all of my opponent's interactions, including Nibiru in hand, or I have a negate for the Nibiru, my way to kill my opponent is usually to make double Mu Beta Fafnir and loop ritual summoning this as many times as possible until I eventually link climb into an access code. And that's just it feels like Firewall is activating its effect and summoning Gokis from my hand. It's just silly. But yeah, and the when it's tributed, the attack buff effect also is very relevant because it means the access code plus ultimateness is gained, so you don't have to play Borrow Sword. So that's the 5 sort of ritual cards. Then something slightly unusual that I played is 3 extra foolish burial. One of my issues with the deck when building it to combo through people's hand traps was the most obvious place to hand trap is the Drytron Alpha, because that card says add Ben 10. And so most people combat this by, well, the best way to combat this is to include more copies of Ben 10, if you can. But Ben 10's obviously limited, so you include copies of cards like Preparation of Rites. My issue with Preparation of Rites is that it can't search every ritual, it can't search Ultimateness or Draconids. Whereas, as you're already playing Diviner with the cards in the extra deck for Diviner, I felt that you may as well also just play this card because it justifies the extra Herald of Arclight for the Diviner. Yeah, so this card just going second with breaking boards is just really nice. Yes, it's a hard once per turn, whereas Preparation of Rites isn't. But you don't really mind that. Like it barely comes up. The biggest thing is you just need to know how to play this card correctly, because the life point payment, if you activate this at the wrong time, you can cost yourself the game. Not because of time, because your deck shouldn't really be going to time. Just like if you activate this as your first search, because it's going to send an Arclight to search, if you get drolled on the pay 4,000, you're probably just dead. So you just need to know how to use the card. And then, but yeah, it was really good for me. It's really good.
Yeah.
Then I play the 3 Diviner, so this is standard. This is your 3 more copies of Ben 10 essentially, and it can also search anything else. It can also dump Ava and make itself level 3, which is something funny that you can do, because then this plus a Drytron makes an Arclight, which is really weird. You can do some funny things like that. This card got hand trapped all the time though. So yeah, I had a couple of games where I resolved Gamma and then just turned it into an Arclight, and that was like the best thing I could do against a Sky Striker player.
Oh, okay.
3 orange. I'm not a fan of hand traps in combo decks, but this is, it's more like an engine piece engine like hand trap deterrent card. It's your anti-Nibiru device. This is the thing that I always try and search if possible during the combo, and also during my playing through my opponent's board, so that I can OTK through Nibiru.
Yeah.
2 copies of Ava. Most people are playing 2 Ava. I played 1 for a while. You can get away with 1 and you just search it to hand, and you don't make Beatrice, you just make more link monsters with your end board. I just found that the card was actually always just really good to draw, so 2 is fine, because if you draw this with orange, it's just insane. And if you draw this, like sometimes you can just normal summon it and make Moon Beta that way. So yeah, just anytime I drew this, it just meant that I could search orange for free and then be like, play through my opponent's board. And if they hand trap you, they lose for hand trapping you because you get to search Diviner.
Yeah.
You side 1 out, going second though.
Okay.
And then the last 4 cards, so this is 36 engine cards, and as I said, I wanted it to just be all gas. So the last 4 cards are just the call by, because it's at 1, to beat hand traps, and then 3 copies of TTT. This card was probably the MVP for the weekend. I had a game where I actually resolved this all 3 copies in one game, which is kind of crazy. And just this is how you break boards as well. So like going second this card, just against Tri Brigade, you force out Apollo once, and then you just take the Apollo, and then you just play through all their hand traps.
Yeah.
So that was the main deck, 40 cards.
Cool.
Extra deck, 1 Link Karibo. You need this for when you open Nova, and just various parts. It's a free body on board. The tribute to summon back, I used that to dodge punishment once. That was kind of cool. IP is part of your end board. Fun fact, I think I full comboed twice throughout the whole tournament. I got hand trapped so many times, so I only made this like twice.
Wow.
But yeah, so I only full comboed twice, but like half combo, like Herald and a few negates, or just Beatrice searching double orange light was enough a lot of the time.
Yeah.
Especially when they've hand trapped you twice, so they only have 4 cards. Phoenix, Utility for Striker as well, just to clear the multi-roll. Unicorn is your main IP target and just clearing boards and climbing into access code. Appaloosa, I weirdly didn't make this the whole tournament.
Okay.
It kind of comes up. So there are certain hands where if you get drolled going first, you can use. So say you open Diviner, you can still summon your Diviner, use Diviner to dump Eiderton, and then link climb, as I said before, with the Mu Beta with the Eiderton. But you're going first, so you're just trying to link climb under droll into an Apollo for 4. It didn't actually happen, but in theory that could come up.
Okay.
And then my choice of Link 4 boss monster is Access Code. You can play Boral Sword. I played a guy who was playing Drytron who was playing Boral Sword instead. Boral Sword makes it easier to kill because you only need 2k, which is just any Drytron summoned from Gamma or Nova. But this just, I felt that this would come up more often just because it clears back row and things off the board.
Yeah. And you got Striker in a format, so it's always good to have mass removal.
Yeah, exactly. And you can also do like against Shadol, you can like clear their board, and Access Code weirdly can banish itself for cost from the field, so you can dodge Shadol fusion. And then onto the Exceeds, 2 Mu Beta Fafnir. When this card first came out, I thought, you only need 1 just for the combo, but yeah, I was wrong. You 100% need 2. For grinding, for OTKing, the card is just absurd, really. Like, even on your follow-up, after your first turn, you make your board, your opponent passes, you need to kill them. Sometimes the easiest way to kill them is just make the second one and just loop Eiderton. So some people play just the Mu Beta as their rank 1. I also play the Lyrilusk for the Zeus package. So the reason I play this is there are decks in the format that will end on only Link monsters, or just not put monsters in defense. And so sometimes you really need to, or you either really need to Zeus them, or your only option is to Zeus them because your opponent's like interrupted you so many times that you can't combo. So your best option is Zeus. And so in those scenarios where you're like, for example, there was a game where the best thing I could end on against a Tri-Brigade player to stop his follow-up is Zeus, but I can't attack him with Mu Beta because they have the Shureg out from Revolt. So this is where this comes up. And also the same against Virtual World, ending on Shen Shen. So this comes up for that. I played the Downard to pair with it for the extra material. Beatrice, part of the combo, helps you extend. Most of the time it sends Ava, but sometimes you just randomly go, I'll use this to send my second Drytron if I only opened 1. I somehow see this card being banned in the future potentially because it is just officially now rank 6 Lava Chain in a deck like this. Yes, kind of dumb. Zeus, as I talked about Zeus already. This card just simplifies games. Then the last 3 cards are the Diviner / Extra Foolish targets. So 2 Herald and 1 Entis. As I was playing Extra Foolish, these came up all the time, all 3 of them. So it was really good.
Cool.
Side deck. So my side deck was really simple. It was just 3 Bell. I'll just sort of show the whole side deck and then some comments really, because my side deck didn't actually do that much. So 3 Droll. These are basically just for the mirror, is all I put them in for. 3 Lancia, so I'll talk about this in a second. Probably the most interesting one. 3 Dark Ruler. I kind of wanted to play Droplets, but I couldn't get them. But this was like the next best thing.
Yeah.
And then 3 Twin, just in case of like back row decks and Striker. So the side deck is really like box standard, but the only card that really actually did anything in the side was Lancia. And I had players, like, they seemed like salty at me for actually playing the card because it's kind of dropped out of the format because Tri-Brigade was kind of the only deck that it hits, so people aren't siding it because they want to cover multiple matchups. But with the way that I side with the deck, I try and keep my main deck as consistent as possible, so I'm only siding like 3 to 6 cards, apart from against Shadol where I'm siding like 9. But everything else going second, I'm only siding like 3 to 6 cards, so I have more space in my side deck. and so this was just like a blowout. And yeah, I played against 2 Tri Brigade and I played against 4 Virtual World. So against those, yeah, the game plan post side a lot of the time just becomes Zeus your opponent through their board and search Lancia and then just end on that. And that's enough. Yeah, so that is the list.
Cool. So let's quickly touch on the side outs then. So you mentioned it's not any of the Drytron names. It's one Ava.
Sometimes you might side out like the third Delta or Fafnir.
Yep.
Or if it's like Striker or something, you'll take Foolish because it's worse into Shark Cannon.
Yeah, sure.
So they're the only names that would max, but I would only ever do max 2 out. And if it's a matchup where you don't need to negate spells and traps, like Striker or Shadow, you do. If it's like a matchup like Tri Brigade where Zeus is good enough, you just side this out, going second.
Okay, yeah.
You side out 1 Ava. Obviously, Cool by going second is a card you can side out.
Yep.
And some amount of extra Foolish sometimes can come out as well.
Okay.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to side in the deck.
Sure. So one interesting thing I wanted to briefly touch on is we saw a lot of Drytron lists trying like Red Eyes package from the event, and obviously you've gone for the big ritual instead as like the alternative playthrough draw. How did you find that, and do you think it has a big impact on the consistency and power of the deck?
So I understand the Dragoon package. I get it, and I don't. If I could guarantee never drawing the bricks, it would be perfect to play in the deck, obviously, as it would be in nearly every deck. But and it's the best thing you can end on off of just 2 monsters. But yeah, I just found Draconids is just less of a brick because he is at least a machine to tribute for a ritual summon. Yeah. And I just don't really want to draw normal monsters in my deck through 11 rounds of Swiss. Like, it's gonna happen.
And you play fewer bricks as well. It's only one. There's one card. It's not.
Yeah, and he's not really a brick. Like, you can still tribute him for a Drytron. So.
Yeah, exactly. So another thing was if you look at the Drytron list from earlier in the year, like the Extravaganzas, we saw a lot of them playing Pot of Extravagance. So obviously you can't play that in the same list where you're playing like Talents and the 3.
Do you mean Pot of Prosperity?
Sorry, Prosperity. Yeah. You can't play them in the same deck as the Deltas and the Talents. Was that a conscious decision, or was that just a byproduct of the way you've built the deck?
So for a long while, as in like last format and when we had 3 Ben 10, I was playing Pot of Prosperity, like as soon as the card came out. But the more I tested this format, the more I just found it to be kind of lackluster. Like, the card is incredible, don't get me wrong, because it helps you see your side deck. The issue I was having, so going first, the card was perfect. You could always banish 6. There's always 6 cards to banish. The issue I was having is that going second in the extra deck, there weren't 3 cards that I could banish without guaranteeing it being that exact scenario that card comes up. The third card. There's 2 that I could always pick, and then the third one, I'd be like, oh, maybe I won't need Beatrice when breaking this board. And then depending on how my opponent chooses to interact with me, might force my play down that line, and then I just lose because I've banished the card.
Yeah, sure. Okay. So you mentioned you went 8-3 from the event. Do you remember what sort of decks you were facing throughout?
Yes, so I have my whiteboard next to me. I have it all written down here. So I can go through my matchups if you want.
Yeah, sure.
So round 1 I played against Pure Mech Knights and I won. Round 2 I played against Sky Striker and I lost, which is kind of funny because I've always said that Sky Striker is the freest matchup for this deck. But so I'm, my opponent was very good, and I'm not gonna make any excuses. But the nearly an hour and a half wait time between round 1 and 2 did affect my sort of focus for sure. Like, for sure, waiting around for that long, I genuinely completely lost focus.
Yeah.
After that, luckily, I was able to regain focus. Round 3, I played against Prank Kids and won. Round 4, I played against Invoked Rocket Dogma and won.
Okay.
Then round 5, 6, and 7, I played 3 Virtual Worlds in a row And fun fact, my total match time for these three was 40 minutes for all three.
Okay.
So that was crazy. Round 8, the last round of day 1, I played Tri-Brigade Zoo and won. So I finished day 1 7-1.
Yep.
Then round 9, I played against Tri-Brigade with Rescue Cat and lost. Round 10, I played against another Virtual World and won. And then the last round, I played on the bubble against a Drytron mirror. And unfortunately, I lost the dice roll.
Oh, no.
So
I guess that
the only sort of fun fact is I kept count also of how many times I got drolled.
Yeah.
And I only got drolled 4 times. But the fun fact is that I won every game I got drolled.
Well, I guess. And is that including cases where you had like a call by? Or
I don't think I ever called Bide or Herald droll.
Okay.
That just happened to not happen. But in terms of when I got drolled, I think only a couple of times I got drolled. I think only once I got drolled when going first. And the game just turned into a grind game and I ended up winning. And then every other time I got trolled when I was breaking my opponent's board, and it just didn't matter. Like, I just like Zeus them or something, pushed through their board, and I just didn't need to trigger the Benten that I'd searched for if that's when they happened to draw me. A lot of the time post side I try and play around troll by using Zeta first so that I can still make Draconids.
Yeah. So basically the conclusion we have to make is if everyone who plays Drytron plays your list, then if you resolve droll against them, then you will lose.
Apparently so.
Apparently.
The only other fun stat that I kept was dice rolls, and I won 5 dice rolls and lost 6.
Okay, that's pretty even.
Yeah, that was pretty nice.
Okay. Cool. Well, thank you very much for taking us through your list and the strategies you applied to it. Are there any other comments you have on how the deck will evolve?
I think it might completely change just because how many Drytrons topped, they had a very good conversion rate. So I think this deck is built with no respect for the mirror match at all. And I think in future you're going to have to respect the mirror, which unfortunately means it affects your consistency.
Yeah, for sure. Okay. And do you have any shout-outs you want to make?
So just shout-outs to all my friends in various chats and discords that were supporting me through the rounds. Shout-outs to Betty, Alex Robertson from the Disciples, for telling me to play 3 Delta. Shout-outs to Ben Popel for just chatting with me about general Drytron theory for the last couple of months.
Cool. Well, thank you very much again for taking us through the list. Congratulations on making it to day 2, and unfortunate to miss out on the bubble there, but I'm sure that you're going to be having success with the deck or future variations down the line.
Thanks.